It should have been a normal morning, just a girl catching her school bus. But when her loyal dog lunged and pulled her back, everything changed. The bus wasn't what it seemed. The driver never blinked. And what came next uncovered a hidden program, a forgotten past, and a machine that wanted her back, not as a person but as a pattern. What did the dog know that no one else could see? And how far would it go to protect her? If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, give the video a like, and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Now let's jump into the story. It happened in less than 10 seconds, but what the dog did would change everything. The yellow school bus rolled up to the corner of Pine Street and Gavin Lane, just like it did every morning. Its brakes let out a familiar hiss and the doors opened with a slow sigh. 14-year-old Nola Brent adjusted the straps on her backpack and stepped off the sidewalk. She didn't notice anything strange at first. The air was calm. The sky was pale blue. A few birds chirped in the maple trees lining the street. It was just another quiet morning in the town of Glen Ridge. Her foot hit the bottom step of the bus, just as Marlowe, her German shepherd, lunged forward and clamped his teeth onto the edge of her skirt. Nola yelped, stumbling backward onto the pavement. Her backpack slipped off her shoulder and she barely caught herself from falling. Her eyes flew wide, shocked. "Marlowe, what are you doing?" The dog didn't bark, didn't whine. He crouched low, ears flat, eyes fixed on the bus. His body trembled, muscles locked like he was facing down something dangerous. The bus driver didn't react. He didn't lean out to check on her. He didn't call out. He just sat there still and silent, staring ahead from behind a pair of dark sunglasses. His hands didn't move from the wheel. His shoulders didn't shift. The doors stayed open for a beat longer. Then they closed with a quiet hiss. The bus pulled away slowly, tires humming on the pavement. Nola watched it drive off, stunned. Marlowe remained low to the ground for several seconds before he relaxed, breathing heavy but steady. His tail didn't wag. When Nola got home that afternoon, she couldn't shake the strange feeling. Her Aunt Mira was in the kitchen watering the potted herbs on the windowsill. "Hey, kiddo, everything all right at school?" Mira asked, wiping her hands on a towel. "Yeah, but something weird happened this morning." Nola set her bag down and sat at the table. Marlowe curled up by her feet, still unusually tense. She told her aunt the whole story. Mira listened carefully, nodding slowly. "That doesn't sound like him," she said. "Marlowe's always been calm. Even when the thunder rolls in, he just naps." "I know," Nola said. "He's never acted like that. Not once." They might have brushed it off, if not for the Ring camera footage from their neighbor across the street. Later that evening, the neighbor, a friendly older woman named Miss Rhonda, knocked on their door. "Mira, honey," she said, "you might want to see this. My Ring cam picked up your girl and that pup this morning. You got a second?" They followed her next door. The video was clear. Nola walking to the bus, Marlowe bolting forward and pulling her back. But that wasn't the disturbing part. It was the driver. The footage zoomed in as the bus lingered. The driver's face, partly hidden by sunglasses, was odd. Too smooth. No visible wrinkles. No movement. His hands never shifted on the wheel. His head never turned. He didn't even blink. Then, just for a split second, his face flickered. Not like a normal camera glitch. It looked like something struggling to stay in place. A digital mask that didn't quite load fast enough. Then it corrected itself, back to stillness. The bus pulled away. Mira stared at the screen. "Can we save this?" "Already sent it to myself," Miss Rhonda replied. The next morning, Mira called the school's transportation office. "We had a substitute on the route yesterday," the woman on the phone said. "Do you have the name of the driver?" Mira asked, a pause. There's no name listed here, just a blank field." "That's odd. I'll look into it and call you back." But the call never came. Instead, that afternoon, 2 police officers came to the door. One of them was young, with kind eyes and a notebook tucked under his arm. "Officer, Luke and Harris," he said. "Mind if we ask a few questions?" They showed him the footage. He watched in silence, jaw tightening slightly when the face flickered. "This doesn't match any registered drivers we have," he said. "And there's no record of a substitute being assigned to your stop yesterday." Mira's voice dropped. "Then who was driving that bus?" Lucan looked at Marlo, who now stood between him and Nola. "I think your dog might have saved her life," he said quietly. That night, Nola lay in bed, wide awake. Marlo was by her door, ears twitching at her, every creak, every whisper of wind. She stared at the ceiling, heart racing. What would have happened if she'd stepped onto that bus? Where would she have ended up? She didn't know, but Marlo had known. Somehow, without words or warning, he had known, and deep down, Nola was starting to feel like this wasn't over, not even close. The next day, the house felt different. It was quiet, but not the peaceful kind. More like the kind of silence that follows a sound you didn't hear, but your body did. Nola sat at the kitchen table watching Marlo sleep by the back door. His chest rose and fell in slow, even breaths, but his ears twitched constantly. Always listening. Aunt Mira walked in with her phone pressed to her ear. "No, I understand, but something's not right," she was saying. "We have a video that shows a driver who doesn't exist. No ID, no records. We need someone who can actually help." She ended the call and looked at Nola. "They're sending someone," she said. "Not from the school, not from the local station either. Someone who knows how to read this kind of weird." That someone showed up the next morning. Her name was Rayan Cross. She didn't wear a badge or carry a clipboard, just a brown satchel and a calm expression. Her dark hair was pulled back in a low braid and her voice was even and clear. "I'm not law enforcement," she told them, "but I've worked with government animal behavior teams. I've trained K9 units, worked with rescue dogs, and even some classified work." She knelt beside Marlo, who sat up the moment she walked in. No barking, no growling, but he didn't wag his tail either. Rayan didn't try to pet him right away. She just looked into his eyes. "You're still on the job, aren't you?" she said quietly. Marlo tilted his head. A slow blink, a soft exhale through the nose. "He recognizes threat," she said, looking up at Mira and Nola. "He's not anxious. He's alert. Which means whatever he saw, he hasn't forgotten it." Nola bit her lip. "Do you think the driver was fake?" Rayan sat down across from her. "I don't know. But I've seen things that look human and aren't. Sometimes a little too perfect, too still." Later that afternoon, Officer Lucan Harris returned. This time he brought a laptop and a file folder stuffed with printed bus route logs. "I checked every camera within 6 blocks, he said. "I found the bus turning on 5th, then nothing. It just vanishes." "No traffic camera caught it leaving town?" Mira asked. "Not a single one," he said. "And get this, no tire tracks, no oil spots, no trace it was ever there." Rayan leaned over the laptop. "What about frequency logs? Did it send any signals?" Lucan hesitated, then opened a file. "That's where it gets weird." He showed them a line of strange symbols, zigzag shapes, dashes, dots. Not GPS data. Not anything he'd seen before. Rayan stared at the screen. "That's low-band frequency chatter. Old tech. Pre-internet. It's how early field drones used to communicate with their hubs." Mira frowned. "Like military stuff?" Rayan nodded. "But off the grid. No satellite backup. This was local." Nola looked between them. "Are you saying this thing wasn't just some fake bus, but a machine?" "Possibly," Lucan said. "And if it is, it's targeting kids. I've found 2 similar incidents in other towns. A girl in Wyoming vanished at a bus stop. Her dog barked for 20 minutes after the bus left. They blamed it on a runaway case. Another boy in Oregon, same story. No trace of the bus, no record of a substitute driver." Rayan leaned back. "And now we have Marlo, the dog who actually stopped it." Marlo, lying near the kitchen doorway, lifted his head at the sound of his name. Lucan turned to Nola. "We need your help. We need to understand what it was looking for. Why you?" Nola's voice was small. "But I'm just a kid. Why me?" Rayan's face softened. That's the question we're all trying to answer. That night, Nola stayed downstairs with Marlo, afraid to sleep alone. Mira brought her a blanket and sat beside her on the couch. Do you remember the day we picked him up? Mira asked. He was the only dog who didn't bark in the kennel. Yeah, Nola said. He just watched me. Like he already knew you, Mira whispered. Nola turned to look at Marlo. His eyes were open, focused on the front door. Maybe he did, she said. At 3:47 a.m., a car engine hummed outside. Marlo stood, instantly stiff and silent. Nola sat up, breath caught in her throat. A white van sat across the street. No markings, no plates. Lucan had warned them. If you see a vehicle sitting too long and no one gets out, call me. Don't approach. Mira peeked through the curtain. That's not anyone from around here. Ryan came downstairs fully dressed, phone already in hand. Time to call Lucan. Marlo growled low, the sound deep and warning. Within 5 minutes, the van pulled away. Too fast, tires squealing. Lucan arrived with backup moments later. He didn't have answers, but what he said chilled them all. They weren't here to. Watch, he said. They were testing the house to see if you were still here. Next time they won't wait. Nola looked at Marlo, her hand resting on his back. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't finished, and neither were they. By the third day, Nola felt like she wasn't just being watched. She felt like she was being remembered, not by people, but by something. Rayanne and Officer Lucan had turned Aunt Mira's dining room into a small command center. Maps were spread across the table. Screens showed loops of surveillance footage. A printer clicked constantly. In the background, spitting out files Lucan had requested from old city records. Marlo stayed by Nola's side, always alert. He didn't act scared. He acted like a soldier. That afternoon, Rayanne placed a folder on the table. Her expression was unreadable. We found something, she said, and you need to see it. Nola opened the folder. Inside was a grainy photo of a toddler with big brown eyes and a soft smile. She was holding a stuffed animal in one hand and a dog tag in the other. That's me, Nola whispered, but I don't remember this picture. Mira leaned over to look. I've never seen it either. Rayanne tapped another page. This was taken during a study called Project Harrow. It was a short-term civilian research program started about 12 years ago. Your parents signed you up before you were even 2. What kind of research? Nola asked. Rayanne paused. Early cognitive mapping, behavior tracking. It was supposed to help predict learning styles and emotional responses. Like baby IQ tests? Mira asked. Kind of, Rayanne said. But the deeper layers weren't about education. They were about connection, bonds between infants and animals, patterns, memory retention, things kids weren't supposed to remember, but some did. She turned to Nola. You had one of the highest emotional recall scores ever logged, and you responded to only one specific dog. Marlo sat up straighter, ears perked. His ID tag was marked K9M041, Rayanne said, flipping to a form in the file. Mira gasped. That's Marlo. Lucan stepped closer. They said the dogs from that study were sent into service. Police, military, some even vanished from records, but one found his way back to you. Nola stared at Marlo. So he's known me since I was a baby? Rayanne nodded. He didn't just remember you, he protected you again like he did back then. Outside, the sky darkened early. Clouds hung low and heavy like the air was holding its breath. Inside, tension grew. Lucan was on the phone with a contact in state security. He pulled the phone away from his ear, eyes wide. You're not going to believe this, he said. That bus, one almost exactly like it, was spotted in a small town 2 states away. Same model, same driver. But this time it picked up a kid. What happened? Nola asked. No one knows, he said. The bus was caught on one camera, and then vanished. The kid never arrived at school. And the family, they're missing too. Mira covered her mouth. They're targeting patterns, Rayanne said. Kids flagged by the old system, kids like you. Nola's hands trembled. So, I'm not just being followed, I'm being hunted? Lucan met her eyes. You're not alone. Not anymore. Rayan walked over to a small case she'd brought earlier. She opened it to reveal a metal collar. Inside, embedded in the lining, was a tiny chip. This is a memory enhancer, she said. Not for people, for dogs. It's used in scent training and mission memory. If Marlowe wore this during the original study, it might hold fragments. Nola knelt beside her dog. Can we try it? Marlowe didn't flinch as Rayan gently clipped it onto his collar. The chip activated with a soft beep. If he remembers anything, we'll know soon, Rayan said. It doesn't force memory. It simply surfaces it. Within minutes, Marlowe stiffened. He paced in slow, careful steps. His eyes scanned the room, but not like he was looking for something new. He was searching for something old. He stopped at a blank spot on the wall and growled. What is it? Mira asked. Rayan pointed. It's not the wall. It's what he remembers being there. She pulled up her tablet and typed quickly. Within seconds, a photograph appeared. A room arranged almost exactly like their own, but older, from a different house years ago. In the photo, baby Nola sat beside Marlowe. He barked once, clear, sharp. Lucan's voice dropped. He just confirmed it. He remembers. The system didn't forget you, Nola. It's been waiting. That night, Mira packed a bag. Lucan and Rayan agreed they had to leave the house. It wasn't safe anymore. They didn't know where the next bus would show up, but they knew it would. Rayan pulled Nola aside. We're not running, we're repositioning. Whatever's chasing you is following a pattern, and the only way to break it is to face it, Nola said quietly. She looked at Marlowe. His tail thumped once. They were ready. They left just before sunrise. Nola sat in the back seat of the black SUV, her hand resting on Marlowe's back. His body was warm and still, his ears alert. Rayan drove. Officer Lucan sat up front watching the empty roads as trees blurred past in the dim light. They were headed to an old facility north of town. A decommissioned data center that had once belonged to a tech company no one remembered anymore. Rayan had traced the location through old project files linked to Harrow, the research study Nola had unknowingly been part of. This is where it started, Rayan said. And if we're lucky, this is where we end it. The building looked abandoned. Faded metal walls, boarded windows, weeds growing through cracked pavement. But as they pulled up, Marlowe stiffened. He growled. Low. Constant. Lucan stepped out first. Let's stay sharp. Inside, the building was colder than expected. The lights were off, but emergency exit signs glowed faint red, casting a soft haze down the main hallway. Dust covered the floors, yet no footprints remained. It felt like no one had walked through in years. Except something has, Rayan whispered. They reached a thick steel door at the back. Lucan swiped a temporary badge. Nothing happened. Marlowe stepped forward and barked once, then sat. The door clicked open. Rayan raised her eyebrows. Guess he's the key now. The room beyond was strange. Not just empty, it was arranged. A small bed in the corner, a pink lamp on the desk. Posters on the wall that looked exactly like ones Nola had in her childhood room. This is mine, Nola said softly. From our old house. No, Rayan replied. It's a copy. A screen on the wall flickered to life. Static gave way to a photo slideshow. Images of Nola as a baby, then a toddler. In every photo, Marlowe was by her side. It's been watching, Lucan said, tracking you for years. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the room. Return to origin. Protocol incomplete. Reinitialize pattern. It didn't sound human. Too smooth. Too perfect. It didn't speak. It played back sounds like reading from a memory file. Nola's skin went cold. Marlowe growled, teeth bared. Rayan moved toward the panel near the desk. It's running a simulation loop, she said. This whole place was designed to recreate emotional moments. That's how it learns. Learns what? Lucan asked. Ryan paused. Attachment, choices, the things machines can't create on their own. The voice came again. Return the subject. Complete sequence. The asset is unstable. I'm not your asset, Nola said firmly. The lights in the room dimmed. A door behind them slid open, revealing another hallway, lined with mirrors. Each one reflected not the real Nola, but slight variations. One smiling too much, one blinking, in sync. One wearing her favorite jacket, but with eyes just a little too wide. Lucan stepped in front of her. Stay back. Rayanne reached into her bag and pulled out a small metal cube. This is a disruptor. It won't destroy the system, but it'll break the loop. How do we use it? Nola asked. Someone with access has to place it at the source. Marlowe stepped forward. He sat beside Rayan, eyes locked on the mirrors. He barked once. He knows where it is. Rayan whispered. Nola looked down at him. You want me to follow? He looked up at her. So she did. They moved down the hallway together, Lucan and Rayanne close behind. The mirrored reflections flickered as they passed, some reaching out, others freezing mid-motion. At the end of the hall stood a tall glass tower filled with light. Cables pulsed from its base. It looked like a brain made from wires. This is it, Rayanne said. This is what's been learning. Nola stepped forward. The cube pulsed in her hand. Then, one final screen lit up, directly above the tower. On it, a video played. Baby Nola in a hospital room. A woman sat beside her bed, stroking her hair. Nola's mother. The one who left. Tears filled her eyes. Why is it showing me this? Rayanne's voice was gentle. To make you stop. To make you remember what it thinks you lost. Nola nodded, holding the cube tight. But I'm not who I was then, and I'm not yours. She placed the cube against the tower. The screen flickered. The lights in the room dimmed. The mirrors shattered. A low hum grew into a roar, then silence. The entire facility powered down. Back in the SUV, Nola leaned against Marlowe as the building disappeared behind them. Rayanne looked back at her. You? Broke the pattern. Nola shook her head. We did. 1 month later, the town held a ceremony at the community center. Just a small gathering. Family. Neighbors. A few folks who had heard whispers about something strange. Something important. Marlowe sat proudly beside Nola, wearing a new harness with a single word embroidered across it. Guardian. When it was her turn to speak, Nola stepped up to the mic and took a breath. People always say dogs don't talk, she said. But mine did. Not with words, with actions. He pulled me back from something I didn't understand, and he didn't need a reason. He just knew. She looked down at Marlowe. He remembered me, even when I forgot who I was. The room went quiet. Then someone clapped. Then another. Outside, the wind moved softly through the trees. Marlowe stood, and this time he wagged his tail.